Welcome to TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John, that's my co-host and commentary Ashton, and this is our Monday Night Raw review. That's right, guys. That's right. We're reviewing Raw tonight. And what's even more beautiful about this, let me set the scene for you guys. 24 hours ago, a little over at this point, was Money in the Bank. I was very positive about the show. Not saying Ashton was negative, that's not my point. But it was a generally fun atmosphere. And 24 hours later, it's Raw, and we all know how we feel about the show. But they actually managed to deliver a solid episode, so good, in fact, that when I get done my business, because I had left my study momentarily, I come back and Ashton says to me, hey, do you want to do a Raw review? And after hashing out the logistics a little bit, I said, yeah, let's do it. So this was all my cohort and commentary's ideas. So with that said, partner, let the world know how you felt about Raw tonight.
You know, it's not one of those things where I thought that this was like an exceptional show or it was amazing or this was like the best Raw that we've seen in years or anything. I just thought that this was a really enjoyable, eventful, noteworthy episode of Raw. And quite frankly, I've been a little bit more jaded with SmackDown recently. I feel like Raw has been not great, but maybe closer to even with SmackDown, maybe even a little bit pulling ahead of SmackDown a little bit. But at the end of the day, this episode of Raw to me that's just at the end of the day, it was just one worth talking about, and that's why I wanted us to review this. And I'm so glad that you bought right into it as soon as I brought it up.
Oh, well, partner, I'd follow you to the ends of the earth. You know that, sometimes against my better judgment, but that's another story for another time. Let us get right into our first segment, Hate of the Night. I gotta say, partner, I'm with you. I was generally on the up and up with this show. However, I have two nitpicks. One you could say is the pickiest of nits. The other, I think I have a legitimate gripe. Before I get into mine, I want to know, did you have any? I'm curious.
I'm sure I probably will think of something as we're talking about it, because obviously this is an episode of Raw and it wasn't perfect. But as of right now, I'm going to say no.
All right, well, let me go to the one that's the pickiest of nits. I only want to talk about it for literally 5 seconds. Didn't care for Roman Reigns' opening promo. It's not that the delivery was bad or the content was bad. It was the atmosphere in which the promo found itself was bad, and it continues to grate because, again, we are in an atmosphere where this man is supposed to be a babyface, and yet arrogance and self-assuredness comes so naturally to him that, again, I beg the question, why isn't he heel? And to me, and I think they handled it well, to be fair, which is why this isn't a full-blown heat of the night. Because had they not handled it well later in the show, like it would have been, him just saying, and the number one contender, some guy named Joe, after he declared, like, I want to face the winner at SummerSlam, either Brock or some guy named Joe. I thought that was blatantly disrespectful, again, from a guy that's supposed to be babyface. I don't mind a babyface having some edges to him. It's just the crowd doesn't buy into it, though. That's the thing. So, yeah, it's just, again, the usual frustrations. I'm not going to say any more than that. I like the promo, again. I want to make it perfectly well known. Like, I think Reigns can talk, especially when he lets us know how he really feels. I just don't like the climate in which this promo was conducted because it's not doing him, in my mind, any favors. Do you have anything you want to add to that before I go right into my second nitpick?
You know what? The one thing I think to me that kind of redeemed that opening segment was that it wasn't necessarily Roman going out of his way to disrespect Joe. It wasn't him saying, "Oh, you're just a guy." But he was said, "Oh, this guy named Joe." That wasn't him being disrespectful in the sense that like he was looking down on Joe as a wrestler. He was looking down on Joe as a Samoan. Like they established last week, Paul Heyman did, that Joe is the only Samoan wrestler currently going that he knows of that isn't a part of the greater Anoa'i family and that gigantic Samoan dynasty that Roman does come from. So this wasn't some Roman being like, "Oh, you're a scrub." This was Roman being like, "Oh, you don't belong in my family, and I don't respect that." You know what I mean? Like that's what I got out of it.
Yeah, you know what, Ashton? I always appreciate your perspective because I know sometimes I can come in things a little hot. And I can definitely see where you're coming from. Again, I am in such a good mood these past 48 hours of WWE's product. I'll take a step back. I can appreciate that. However, I'm curious if you and I will be in complete agreement about my next nitpick. And this is where I'm going to seem like a dick, but I got to be honest. I enjoyed the women's segment until Bayley's music hit.
Yep.
Because I looked at it as one of these things is not like the other. One of these things doesn't belong.
You know what I kind of got from that too? That actually did surprise me is that even with all the damage that's been done to her character-wise, Bayley's still pretty over, surprisingly. Like she got arguably the biggest pop out of all the women that were out there, but I don't know if that speaks volumes about Bayley or if that speaks volumes in a negative way about the rest of the women on Raw.
And that's a legitimate point. I'm really glad you phrased it the way you did. And I am relieved for Bayley. I am happy for Bayley that the crowd's still reacting to her because I'm not kidding you. I was mortified for her after Extreme Rules. I thought the booking of her character and that whole angle was atrocious, but it doesn't change the fact, right, that it happened. Maybe the damage isn't as bad as I thought it was, but it doesn't change the fact that it happened. And to me, Bayley has no credibility in the title picture right now. And another thing is, like, while I can appreciate Raw, and that's where, like, I can't be a hypocrite because I do say it about SmackDown, I've got to say it about Raw. I appreciate them using all of their women, but even on SmackDown side, that's not always an asset because some of these women you can look at and you can say, well, where's the credibility? Where's this? And that's where I am right now with Bayley. I thought it was a mistake, by the way, too, since we are in a Raw review and I could talk about things that have been on my mind that isn't in a Raw pay-per-view preview or predictions. I didn't think it was smart to have her do the sit-down interview with Corey Graves the week prior. I didn't agree with that at all. I would have preferred if Bayley was off TV for a considerable amount of time and then she returns and she makes a big impact. Whatever that impact is up for you guys to decide. But she comes out. And granted, like you said, she does get the pop and everything, which is a relief. But I'm like, oh, okay. So here I thought we were going to get this really fresh championship feud. I mean, you've even got Emma a part of it, for God's sakes. And you know what big supporters I am, and especially you are, of Emma being in title contention. But you're just going to throw Bayley in there after she was owned. And again, that's not me trying to be a dick. Everybody said it. She was owned in that feud. And I'm like, so how are you going to get your return match? Because you even agreed to the kendo stick on a pole match. So it's not like Kurt put you in an unfair situation. You urged him like, no, I want to go extreme. And then your character looked foolish. So that's the only thing. And that's why I made it a nitpick because Heat of the Night, even I can admit, would have been too harsh.
Honestly, though, I feel like this nitpick or this Heat of the Night or whatever you want to call it would have been better suited if we would have reviewed Raw last week when she did the sit-down interview with Corey Graves because that was when she said like, oh, yeah, I want to win, but I want to do it my way. Well, if you want to do it your way, why did you encourage Kurt Angle to give you this kendo stick on a pole match, for Christ's sake?
Yeah, because if that isn't your way, then something's seriously wrong here.
She's stupid. That's like the character is a dumb character. She's just like, I don't even know if I want to call it naive or just gullible or just flat out stupid. But at the end of the day, if you want to do it your way, and it took, first of all, either A, it took you that long to realize that you wanted to do it your way, and you're just learning this after or during the kendo stick on a pole match was already happening, in which case you're just stupid. Or B, you thought that that's what you wanted to do, or actually that's what I was kind of saying in the beginning. But I guess the B would be you wanted to do it your way the whole time, but you wanted the kendo stick on a pole match because you wanted to beat Alexa in a match where Alexa had the advantage. I don't even know, man. Like it is, you have to play some serious mental Olympics to justify what Bayley called for here.
I was even getting ready to say, do you see the mental gymnastics that you're doing right now? Because like
that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
that's the problem. I like the idea. I know somebody. I can't remember.
I mean, honestly, dude, you say that the women's segment went downhill for you when Bayley came out. For me, it went downhill when Dana and Mickey came out.
Right, but see, like, I've got to be fair there too. I don't like Dana, and like, I'm not a mark for Mickey, but I can appreciate her work. But at least I understand where they fit in this story, right? Because Alexa tried goading them. Oh, we have a Nia Jax problem. They bucked back. They were at ringside. Alexa used them. I get it. So narratively, I understand their place. What the fuck place does Bayley have? Now, I know somebody could pipe up and say, well, Alexa's been a shit stirrer for Bayley for a while. And yeah, that's true. That is true.
She definitely has, yeah.
But see, to me, like, while it does have weight, I'm not going to come over here and be like, that has no weight. To me, it's just like Alexa won the feud. So yeah, she's been a shit stirrer, but like Bayley pops right back up, like where I'm sorry, like it just took me out of it. Maybe I'm being too negative, and I could admit that, but like she came out, and I'm like, really? You need to do major rehabilitation, and you're already going to get another women's championship match? I think the only positive is that you're going to have 6 other women to kind of mask and or bolster your credibility, because there is some suckitude in there in Dana Brooke. But my God. Yeah, like, I don't know, man. Again, maybe it's just me being really picky, which is why I even said it was a nitpick. But just a bad taste left in my mouth. But that's really all I had to say about this segment. Did you think of anything you wanted to air out in this segment while I was talking?
No, honestly, since we're reviewing Raw for the first time in 10 months, by the way, which I'd like to add in here. It's been 10 months since we last reviewed a Raw, but since we are reviewing a Raw for the first time in a while, I would just like to point out that I absolutely love the concept of the Titus brand, this idea of a former wrestler getting still pulling almost like a famous bee, in the sense that he still kind of participates in matches sometimes, but it's really only because he's a manager and he wants to help get his clients kind of in the right mindset or whatever. I just think that this should have been done with anybody but Titus O'Neil, because the whole concept here is he should be talking for these guys and he should be a great talker, but Titus O'Neil can't talk. Like, obviously he's physically capable of talking, but he's just not good at being good at it.
See, and here's the funny thing with Titus. And again, I'm being serious. Like, I'm trying to be very even-handed with everybody. I don't think Titus is a good talker live, which is essentially what matters. So it's not me trying to put a dent in your argument. But right. Like, I see him in the Raw Fallout, like backstage stuff, and I'll be honest, I actually do kind of like some of the stuff that he does. Is it like cutting edge and like next level? I wouldn't go that far, but does it make me like chuckle every now and again, like, you got me? Like, yeah, I think there's something there. I just don't think he's comfortable in front of a live crowd. And it's funny because hasn't he said that like he was a motivational speaker or something before he came to WWE? And I don't know, man. I think those are some very uncomfortable seminars from where I sit, because, yeah, I just don't think the delivery is there. But I think he's got a personality. It just really has a problem coming out in front of live crowds, which, again, is what matters. But, yeah, I'm with you. Yeah. I actually think
that's my thing, man. Like, I absolutely love the idea of the Titus brand. Maybe that's just because it literally is just famous B with maybe the volume turned up a little more. I don't know.
Right. And, you know, I could understand that because we both adore Famous B. And I, too, actually, and I will say, even with Titus's deficiencies, and I think I even told you this when we were talking about Raw, outside of the primetime players, because I really enjoyed Darren Young, and I actually can't wait for him to come back because maybe they'll do something with him in the mid-card. Outside of the primetime players, of course, this is the best thing Titus has ever done in his career. Like, I have enjoyed it. I'm actually invested in it. I'm curious what direction they'll take it, especially because Titus is diversifying the proverbial portfolio. You know, he's got the muscle in Apollo Crews, and now he's trying to get a cruiserweight in Akira Tozawa. So I like that. There's definitely a unique dynamic going on with that, and I think we'll talk about this later in the formal review. But yeah, that's all I'm going to say about it for right now. So are you ready to actually do this review?
Well, we actually have a $2 super chat from James. Do you have chat open so you can read it, or do you want me to read it?
I'm going to read it. Push Charlie Caruso's titties. Hashtag fuck money. There was also a hashtag with push Charlie Caruso's titties. I just wanted to get it out as quickly as possible. So there we go.
All right, then let's get into this.
Yeah, let us get into our Monday Night Raw review. And Roman Reigns comes out. He opens the show, talks about his SummerSlam announcement, which essentially amounts to, I'm going to face the winner of the Universal Championship match at Great Balls of Fire. I'm declaring myself #1 contender. Now, how do I have this power? Because one-on-one, nobody can beat me. Ask Seth Rollins. Ask Finn Balor. And then he talks about how he
He brought up
retired the
Strowman too. He said ask Braun Strowman because of course he
Oh,
beat Strowman in Fastlane.
I actually forgot that he brought up Strowman, which makes what happens later oh so much sweeter. And then he does talk about The Undertaker and how I'm main evented my third WrestleMania in a row. You're such a good heel that isn't a heel. I hate you. You know, he does all that. Again, great promo, great delivery by Reigns. Just hate the climate. And, you know, he's talking about, and you want to know why with the whole SummerSlam number one contender thing and becoming Universal Champion? Because this is my yard. And then Joe comes out. And Joe, like always, I even tweeted tonight, what I love about Joe's promos, when you look at the guy, like there's just such a quality of believability to everything he says, heel or face. When he gets that intensity, which he's not as yelly as he used to be, which I appreciate because he used to be very yelly in his TNA promos, but now he's just got like that simmering kind of rage intensity where it's like, I'm just going to choke you out and that's how I'm going to settle it. So I really enjoyed him here, but I'm actually going to throw the ball over to you, partner. What did you think of not only Joe's portion of this, but the segment as a whole?
Yeah, man. I mean, Joe's always going to cut a good, intense promo. I didn't really feel like he said anything that I haven't heard before from Joe in this. I love that we're kind of maintaining Joe kind of having a one-up on Roman. I appreciate that. And even later on in the night, we saw Joe actually did beat Roman in their one-on-one match, which not only was that a great decision, but that shocked me that they even made that decision. Because when that match got made, you were like, oh, how are they going to do this? And I just said, well, that's easy. Roman's going to win clean. And then it turned out the actual, like, close to the opposite. Not completely opposite, because it wasn't 100% clean, but close to the opposite happened. So that made me pretty happy. But yeah, I think if you... It's really hard because Roman feels so much like a heel. Like, it's not even at the point that, like, it's like a John Cena thing where he says things that are clearly intended to be babyface things, but people who don't like him would misconstrue it as heelish. Just straight up, he is acting like a heel. Like, he acts like a dick, and it's outward, and it's obvious, and it's blatant. And most fans are booing him now, and yet it still seems like he says like these little tiny things here and there, like, oh, I respect The Undertaker, and he respects me too. But then, like, he brings up, like, because I beat him. Like, it's like he's trying to kind of hedge his bets a little bit. You know what I mean?
Dude, I want so desperately to believe that when Roman is saying this heel stuff, it's actually Roman Reigns expressing how he feels like, you guys can boo, but I still got your money kind of thing. And then when he peppers in that I respect you, it's like, oh shit, that's right. I have bullet points or even a full-blown script. You never know with Raw. I better just sprinkle some of that in there. And because, yeah, like I'm telling you, and I don't mean me of all people, I do not mean this as an insult. He's so good with that natural arrogance, which is why I was very careful in my wording with Heat of the Night to separate the promo itself and where the promo took place, because Reigns can cut a promo, and yes, Reigns can work. We have never, and when I say we, I should say we at TWitWoW, have never really been critical of Roman Reigns like on those fronts. It's just we know what he should be doing, and he's not doing it because they're stubborn, as we have said countless times now on this show. But I agree with you, man. Like, I listen to him and I'm like, what is even going on with you right now that in one breath you could say, I respect The Undertaker, and then the other breath, but I retired him and this is my yard now. Like, what? Dude, I enjoy it, but it's so head-bangingly frustrating to know what this could be. But anyway, continue your thoughts, please, because unless you wrapped up your thoughts on this segment, I pretty much have nothing else to say.
Yeah, I mean, I was just kind of re-emphasizing that, like, yeah, Roman feels more like a heel than John Cena has since he was an actual heel. Like, even in, like, 2011, 2013, 2012, when he was cutting promos that were like almost intentionally divisive. Like, he would say shit that gets his fans riled up and makes his fans like him even more, but people that already don't like him, it makes them hate him a lot more. And Roman, it feels like he is going out of his way to make people dislike him, because he is saying stuff that even like younger kids and women find dickish. Like, it's different. There's a big difference in the types of promos that Roman is cutting now and that John Cena was cutting for the longest time, where like with Cena, it was always like, oh, is he turning heel? This feels like such a heelish promo. But then like you would see like women and kids in the crowd getting all like uppity and happy and like, oh yeah, you're right, Cena, you're the best. But with Roman, it seems like he's cutting these promos to intentionally alienate that audience because he's saying stuff that audience boos.
Yeah. Yeah, you gotta wonder. You really gotta wonder if he too wants to be the thoroughbred Roman Reigns that he was early on in NXT. Because even the way he acts on Twitter, I see how he tweets at people, even fellow peers. I mean, not within the WWE context, but just they're all in the pro wrestling industry, and it's like, man, you know better than anybody how to get your pants around your ankles and just shit over everyone, don't you? It's really amazing to watch, and it's just so frustrating that we don't get this on a more regular basis, knowing that that's what we, are getting on a regular basis. Like, yeah, this is the villain, boo him, because he would score so many fucking touchdowns, but him and Joe end up getting in a brawl, which Reigns stands tall from, because Joe tries getting the coquina clutch.
I mean, Joe had the upper hand. But then Reigns ended up with a Superman punch out of nowhere, and then ended up, I think, just clotheslining him out of the ring.
Yeah, well, yeah, it was. I think.
Am I thinking of? I might be thinking of another in-ring.
I think you're thinking of what Dean did to Miz.
That's what it was. Because I remember, because he was going for the dirty deeds, and Miz kind of got out of it, and he ended up getting clotheslined over the top rope. That's right. So it was just the Superman punch, and then Joe rolled out. That's right. Yeah.
So that ends that segment. Do you have anything else you want to say about it?
No, I think what happened next, though, was the Hardy Boys versus Gallows and Anderson.
Yes, and now full disclosure, guys, because I didn't know that we are going to be reviewing tonight. I really wasn't paying attention to this match. I was actually playing video games while this was on, but I did go and I watched the YouTube clip before we went live. Not really much to say, all things considered. It is the club at this point. They don't really have much credibility. You know that the Hardys are the ones in the feud with the tag team champions, and they pick up the win here.
I'm still lagging behind because I still feel like the Hardy Boys are the champion. That's weird.
I know, right? But yeah, Matt gets the Twist of Fate on Gallows. Jeff gets the Swanton. And that's pretty much it. I mean, partner, do you have anything you want to say about this? Because, I mean, that's pretty much my review.
This was a nothing match, honestly. Yeah. Like, there was nothing to this match. It didn't really build to anything. It was really just like look at the Hardy Boys. They're still good. They're still legit. Credibility, prestige. Give them to it. Oh, yeah, them.
Yeah, I think everything that you just went through, I'll co-sign onto that wholeheartedly. So let's just move right on then. What came after this?
Yeah, so up next, we had Goldust promo. He talks about how the other side of Hollywood, where dreams are shattered, and that he's been there before, but he put himself back together. And then next week, he invites R-Truth to the debut of his motion picture, The Broken Truth.
You know what? If there's something that makes me elated about doing this Raw review tonight, besides the atmosphere, because we have the best fans on the web today, is that I get to finally formally talk about this feud, because this is, honest to God, one of the best things on Raw right now, if not all of WWE. And this is coming from the same guys that when they were a team, I despised it with just every fiber of my being that permits me to live and to hate. I loathed it. But them feuding with each other and Goldust being his retro kind of character as a heel, man, it just works. I'm into I've been into every promo that he's done so much that I've gone back on YouTube and I've rewatched them either once, or in the case of his first one, I rewatched that multiple times. Like, I was just so happy to see this Goldust back. And hey, I mean, not to give it all to Goldust, even though I'm all about that right now. R-Truth has definitely been carrying his weight. I like the intensity. I like the fire. I like that he throws the movie quotes back at Goldust. And it's starting a little bit to get to a point where, all right, I want to see the match now, which is a compliment because they've gotten me so invested. And I'm glad to see that it's going to be next week, because if we had gotten like 2 more weeks of these, I would have been like, all right, I'm really loving what you guys are doing, but let's pick up the pace a little bit. How are you feeling about this feud, dude? I'm very curious to know your thoughts. And I think Asher might be tending to something, guys, so I'll keep talking a little bit about this until he comes back. I'm personally hoping that Goldust goes over, and it's not really a case of, the young guy is going to go over, because they're both around the same age. I just think it would be cool if, Goldust got one more run as this heel. I think it'd be very interesting. I mean, the Intercontinental Championship's in a weird place right now. I could see him making one run for that title because that was the reign he was known for in the 90s. So, yeah, guys, I mean, if I had a pencil, I'd have Goldust go over here, give his heel run some legs, and then I'd throw him in the Intercontinental Championship mix. I don't know if I'd have him win it because that's really contingent on who the champion is. And I don't know how much they're invested in Miz. But if Miz wasn't the champion, yeah, I think that'd be a good rub for the babyface champion to work with a legend like that. That, again, one of their biggest career highlights was the Intercontinental title. Even feuded with Undertaker at one point while he was IC champion. And, yeah, you give a nice rub to that babyface. I mean, conversely, I think you could do R-Truth, sure, but I don't know. Like, I'd be cool with him as a babyface if he kept this fire and intensity. Like, he can be goofy because I feel like it's kind of the way here with the movie quotes and everything. But I like that there's an intensity to it, and it's not like, oh, how's everybody doing? I think there's a time and a place for that. But I'm really liking this R-Truth that we are seeing, and I want to see more of that. But yeah, personally, I just think both guys are around the same age. Go with the more established legend in my mind, and go with Goldust. So yeah, that's all I have to say. Let me get some chat reactions because Ashton still isn't back yet. Let's see. We got Trevor saying, no, Chavo, don't worry, guys. Don't worry, guys. Ashton's fine. I'm sure everything's going to be fine. He's still alive. We promise. Nobody deleted him. But yeah, let's get some thoughts on Goldust R-Truth if anybody's got any. Jarveris and James, they've been having interesting interactions on chat. Stella, you go and get got. I'm curious if that means you're supporting R-Truth in this feud. James, fuck you, Altman. James, I really hate your face, and considering that my partner here is muted, that pretty much gives me a live mic. You have the head of a goddamn eggplant. You're going to be